To start off, I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of or has seen the TV show Full House. That classic happy-go-lucky show airing from the late 1980s to the mid-1990s, or even known as the show with Bob Saget and John Stamos. Anyway, I was surfing on the Pirate Bay on day looking for things like music, games, torrents, etc. But that's not important. So when I was just about to be done looking around on the site, I found a few television series and they caught my attention. So I looked at a few of the TV series. There were nothing but shows like SpongeBob and Family Guy. So I ignored all the others until I came up on the Full House series. I remember being young and watching the show every day before I went to school. With a small smile on my face, I clicked the page. Then a page opened up showing every single episode from every season. But there was only one episode that caught my eye. One peculiar and different episode. The title of the episode was titled Question Mark. I had never heard of this episode, let alone did I even know that it existed. After all of this happened to me, I did lots of research. Apparently, the creator of the show, Jeff Franklin, wanted to end the series early, since there were not many views at that time, because of the show was just not popular like how the others were. So Jeff decided that he would make a final episode, a way to end the series with a bang. So they actually did film this episode, they just didn't air it. Anyways, I clicked on the download, and when it was finished, I opened it. The show started up normally, playing the cheery Everywhere You Look theme. It brought a smile to my face as I was reminiscing my early childhood, and then the screen faded to black. But for a few seconds, and this is where the show began. Joey and Jesse were setting up banners and blowing up balloons for Michelle's birthday party. DJ and Stephanie came running into the room. Stephanie telling everyone about a couple of childish games she came up with that they could play at the party. Joey then told them to be ready to surprise Michelle when she walks in. All of a sudden, there was a ringing at the doorbell, so everyone turned off the lights and hid behind the furniture. Danny and Michelle then walked in, and everyone yelled, "Surprise!" A cute little smile rose above Michelle's little cheeks. They then decided to invite all of Michelle's friends over for cake, presents, and games. Then they headed outside. When they went outside, the camera shook a little, and there was no sound, almost as if the episode was paused. It then cut to the scene outside, but this is where things got weird. Michelle and her friends were around a picnic table, and they were talking about random small things, until a gust of wind blew Michelle's birthday hat from the table. Michelle then started chasing it, the wind blowing it further and further away each time she tried to grab it, until it landed in the middle of the road. Michelle then stood there, putting the hat on, unaware of the incoming car. Joey, Jesse, and Danny were yelling and chasing to rescue Michelle, yelling at her to get out of the road. There was a swerving and a crashing noise. It didn't show what happened, but the horrified look on everyone's faces pretty much gave away what happened. The camera then shook violently, and then cut to a picture of Michelle for a few seconds, and then cut to black. This is where the next scene began to play. It showed Danny, Joey, Jesse, DJ, and Stephanie at a funeral, and they all had blank, emotionless looks on their faces, and there was no sound. Danny then started softly sobbing to himself, as well as Stephanie and DJ, and Joey and Jesse comforted both Danny and the children. Danny then looked at them and told them about how the accident was all of his fault. Jesse and Joey then angrily protested with tears, telling them that it wasn't his fault, but theirs. Then there was no sound again, but all it showed was everyone staring at the camera with the same exact blank stare for a few seconds, until it cut to static. The next scene began to play. Danny was sitting in his room all alone and sobbing. He then looked up with a blank stare and walked over to a record player, where he proceeded to play the song Crying by Roy Orbison. He then walked over to the closet and pulled out a noose. He also spoke to the noose, saying, "Hello, old friend. It looks like I need you more than ever now." Danny then hung himself, and his body was swaying back and forth for a minute, the camera zooming in on his swinging body. The scene then cut to a pause, and the next scene began. It was Jesse. He was getting on his motorcycle with no helmet or protective gear. He then started up the bike and headed down the street. It then cut to Jesse riding his bike within the city, and there was no sound, but I could hear him mouthing the words, "Why?" Jesse then stomped on the gas pedal and the screen quickly went to black. It was later revealed that he had committed suicide by slamming his bike into an oncoming semi-truck. Then the next scene began to play. The scene showed Joey. He was in tears while packing up a few of his puppets into a box. He then picked up a Popeye doll and impersonated his voice, saying, "It's all your fault, Joey. No one else but you." He then gave a Popeye chuckle. He then reached into the box and pulled out a pistol. There he proceeded to hold it up to his head and blankly stare at the screen. An image of Michelle then came onto the screen, but I could hear Joey sobbing and whispering something to himself that I couldn't understand. Then I heard a gunshot and then a thud, and then this is where the next scene quickly came up. It was DJ, on her bed, sobbing. I could barely hear an audible crying from a baby, and I don't know why, but from at this point there was no longer any sound in the episode, just a low humming noise. DJ ran into the bathroom and started running the bath, where she then grabbed a razor from the medicine cabinet and got into the bath. No nudity was shown, thank God, but there was nothing but static for a few seconds until it came back on. It showed DJ in the bathtub, lying lifeless and staring straight into the camera. The camera then zoomed in slowly on her face, shaking around a little, and then faded to black. The final scene then began to play. It was Stephanie. She was walking around the house, wiping tears from her face, and knocked on the bathroom door. She guessed that since there was no response, then there was nobody in the bathroom. She then opened the door and began screaming and crying, so she ran into her bedroom window, opened it up, and jumped out, killing herself. The show ended there. No credits played, and the low humming noise became a slight beeping noise. I exited the window and got rid of the file, and I'm not sure if the episode is still on Pirate Bay, but I'm positive that there's other torrents for it. And with the information that I told you about earlier, I found another quite interesting thing. Apparently, others have seen the episode too, and questioned the people on the show about it. Rumor has it Jeff Franklin had threatened and blackmailed many of the cast members and told all of them never to talk about the episode to anyone. So, Jeff continued the series up until 1995 when Full House finally ended. I'm not exactly sure why anyone would come up with such a morbid way to end such a nice television show. If any of you were able to find the episode, I wouldn't recommend uploading it to YouTube, and since it will more than likely be taken down. And the same goes for Google. If you try and upload any of the pictures like I did, they will be removed, and I'm not sure why. I'm guessing everything has their secrets, even the happiest things, like a simple 1990 sitcom.